Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Williamson. I'll be your sergeant for the next 5 minutes. It's my first time doing this, so I'm quite excited, really. You would, of course, be forgiven for not knowing who I was, because I never seem to be able to make it to these meetings. And there's a number of reasons for that, but mostly it's because I'm one of those hated lawyers. And I'm quite a junior one, so we're not allowed out. But in the spirit of never coming to these meetings, I thought I would theme my sergeant session on people who never did things. So it is a quiz. I'm going to give you a list of people and a thing. One of them never did it. You have to guess which one it is. We'll go through them. If you get it wrong, yeah, it's not always the lawyer. If you get it wrong, you put money in the box. If you get it right, you don't. But if you learn something, then please also put money in the box, because it's always valuable to learn, and I never get to teach because I'm too busy learning from you guys. So it'll do wonders for my self-esteem if I hear little clinkings when I read out some of these arcane and inane facts that I've come across on Wikipedia. If they're not right, of course, don't blame me. I'm just the lawyer. So, first of all, of these very famous children's authors, one of them never had any children. Of course, we've got Roald Dahl, who wrote BFG, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Anyone think that he never had any children? Hands up, we're going to do this very quickly. One person. Right, excellent. Next down there is Enid Blyton, who I didn't actually realize looked like that. And Noddy in the Famous Five. Anyone think that she had no children? Excellent, more people, lovely. Dr. Seuss or Theodore Geisel, Cat in the Hat, Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Anyone think he had no children? Lovely. And finally, J.K. Rowling, author of the very famous Harry Potter series. Right, well, the answer, of course, is... I put some animations in here. It's actually Dr. Seuss, for your information, and this is where you learn. No biological children, I should add. It is a trick question. Roald Dahl had 5, Enid Blyton had 2, and J.K. Rowling has 3. Next one, as many of you who do know me, I'm a big opera fan. Which one of these composers never wrote an opera? Beethoven, ladies and gentlemen. Who thinks he never wrote an opera? Oh, you're an educated crowd. Gustav Mahler, who thinks he never wrote an opera? One person. Antonio Vivaldi, 1 or 2 people. And Tchaikovsky, the ballet master. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it was in fact Mahler. Beethoven wrote 1, Fidelio, it's quite good. Tchaikovsky wrote 11, and although a lot of them have been forgotten, Vivaldi actually wrote more than 50, which is somewhat unusual, I thought. Despite, actually, weird fact, never having written an opera, Mahler's life actually did inspire a story by Thomas Mann, which is A Death in Venice, which was subsequently turned into an opera by Benjamin Britten. Also, if any of you think I'm going too fast, that's simply because I've got so much information to impart. And if you miss something, please put some money in the box. People who never visited the place they famously wrote about. So Bram Stoker, author of Dracula, of course set in a large part in Transylvania. Rudyard Kipling, The Jungle Book, set mostly in India. Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness, excellent book, in the Belgian Congo. And Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein, set in and around Geneva. So, Bram Stoker. Any votes? A few. Rudyard Kipling? Yeah, that's an easy one. Joseph Conrad? Oh, a few. And Mary Shelley. The answer, of course, is Bram Stoker. He actually never visited Transylvania, because why would you? And he based his description of the country on many various research pieces that he had read. All of the other ones had, in fact, visited them. People who never existed. So one of these people didn't exist, one of these famous logos, the rest of them did. We'll start off with an easy one. Who thought Lord Kitchener never existed? That's good, right. History could be very different if he had not. Colonel Sanders, KFC, who thinks he never existed? Quite a few. Betty Crocker, the famous American baker, lovely. And Leo the Lion, the one that goes rawr at the beginning of MGM, lovely. Well, in fact, ladies and gentlemen, it was Betty Crocker, who has never existed. She was, I am absolutely sure, she was, because here's the she was actually developed in 1928 by the Washburn Crosby Company because they thought that women would not like to take advice on cooking from a man. So instead of doing the logical thing, which is finding a woman to actually give the advice, they made one up. You can take whatever you like from that. So please, put the money in the basket if you didn't know that. Right. People who never actually met, you know, throughout history is very long, you'd think most people have a chance to meet. These are some pairs which quite often are mentioned in the same sentence, or at least in the same Wikipedia search, but in fact never met, or at least one of them didn't. So the first one, Winston Churchill and Benito Mussolini. Who thinks that they never met? Interesting, interesting. Mozart and Beethoven. Who thinks that they never met? Ooh, very interesting. Charles Dickens and Edgar Allan Poe. Lovely. And Elizabeth I and Mary, Queen of Scots. I see we've got some history buffs. Of course it was. Elizabeth I and Mary, Queen of Scots. Winston Churchill apparently admired Benito Mussolini right up until the moment he met him, and then he tried to have him assassinated. Mozart and Beethoven apparently did meet in 1786, and Mozart is reputed to have said of Beethoven, "Watch out for that boy, one day he'll give the world something to talk about." Dickens and Poe met, and apparently their meeting was a sterile conversation. And despite being cousins, however, and the one ordering the execution of the other, Elizabeth I never, in fact, met her cousin Mary, Queen of Scots. Interestingly, however, from the mid-1800s, these two have been put together in literature many times. First of which was in Donizetti's opera in 1835, and the most recent of which is coming out next month, in which this lovely lady plays Elizabeth I. I'm not entirely sure I see the resemblance. And the final one, which means, of course, it is your last chance to put some money in the bowl. Who never actually said this? So, the first one, elementary, my dear Watson, Sherlock Holmes. Did he ever say it? Of course, of course. Next one, Luke. I am your father. We've got one person thinks he never said it. The ends justifies the means, and that's Niccolo Machiavelli, a personal favourite of mine. One or two people, and finally, we are not amused. Lots of people, well, in fact, everyone should probably pay because none of them said any of that.